I just want to up level my podcast, or I want to take my podcast to the next level. How can I do that? And I would say that the one key thing that needs to happen before any other recommendations or directives or things that could be integrated for growth can happen is that you really need a good, solid podcast audit. How we at Produce Your Podcast define podcast audit is pretty intensive and 360-degree holistic approach of digging into your podcast and really giving you a diagnostic review of our findings. So let me just give you an example of the most recent podcast audit that we did for a client. And this was a client, by the way, that had already had over 300,000 downloads. So you might be thinking, well, what do they need to up level if they're getting those kind of downloads? But the reality is that no matter what size your audience is, small to big, there are certain things about the way your podcast needs to be set up foundationally to scale for growth. People need to be able to find your show. They need to be able to put in certain terms that your podcast then pops up and they discover it that way. So when we dug into this particular audit, we were finding things that we could easily fix. But if the host didn't know they were broken, they would have just keep going on at their same level of essentially stagnant audience growth.